I gotta wait. How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
Welcome to the stand, where Miss Dreme always has a story.
I'm Dreme, a black woman with many beautiful interconnecting identities. A few I will name at this moment as we get started on this podcast journey together. A Bostonian, born and raised in the inner city, Dorchester and Roxbury neighborhoods, to a teenage single mother who has my whole heart. An educator, I've been working with youth and children since my teenage years, and formally, I have been teaching almost a decade now. That's wild to think about. An entrepreneur, I am the founder of The Chair, a black and brown centered tech platform dedicated to supporting people on their hair journey, where you can design hairboards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a more joyous experience. I have a workable site, my prototype. It took me 2 years to build, and now I'm on this adventure that you're currently on with me. My goal for this podcast is to share stories, black stories, educator stories, entrepreneurship stories, and hair stories. I want you to leave each episode with the opportunity to gain new insight, just a glimpse into my world or the worlds that are featured on my podcasts, a little chuckle during your day or night, possibly a little anger to encourage you to advocate for justice, and hope to continue learning and dreaming. So come in and listen to the beautiful voices in the chair as they share their stories, starting with me.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Hello, beautiful people. This is Sakina and Suhaila. Can you please introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah. So I'm Sakina. I recently graduated high school with my twin here. And next year I'm going to be going to Tufts. Interested in pursuing public health. We'll see where that takes me. I'm here for Miss Flynt. She's my old teacher. And I'm just super excited to be on.
Yep, and I'm Suhaila. I was born first, the older twin. Just put that out there. And I'll be studying civil and environmental engineering at MIT this coming semester. Super cool to be tied to Miss Flint again.
I had Sakina and Suhaila as 8th graders. It's crazy to think about how they are now 18 years old and about to enter into college. And, and I have had a lot of educators on my podcast so far. And so I have talked about my extensive background in education. But of course, sometimes people need a little more proof. And so when I reached out to Sakina and Suhaila to be on my podcast, I was really excited that they said yes to talk about their experiences that they've had with me. Can you tell me, what were your views on history before entering into my class and then after taking my class?
For me personally, I had this one teacher in 8th grade, and she covered, American history as well, because you also, taught us that. And I thought that was, really important. And her class, she did a bunch of Socratic seminars, so we talked a lot with each other and still learned about history and how that applies to our world, our life in that sense. So I was coming in with that sort of view, and it was beneficial to have her as a teacher because, she taught us history that was kind of unknown to me. Mostly, history has been like ancient world history, and I was like, how does that apply to me? So I had that perspective of history going into your class, and I think you just built off that because in your class we had, conversations of how the laws that were going on in the current American history, how that applied to people then and, how that applies now. And like for me, I specifically remember the Holocaust unit and, watching the Facing History videos and reading those articles. And on your quizzes, I'd have these questions. What were the different laws? How did that affect people? Or what was the prejudice going on in that time? Man, I should have really paid attention to that article. For me, it kind of clicked. Memorizing the dates, the importance of building a timeline. And for me, I'm good with memorizing those facts. So I really enjoyed having, that class structure.
And it's a similar experience for me as well. I feel like your questions, obviously it was 5 years ago. I don't remember the exact questions, but I always remember in your class being forced to truly think about, the events that we were covering, and not just what happened or repeating the dates and everything, but more of like what it meant to us and like the context of the current US and like how that relates. I also remember you made us learn the 50 states using that geography game, Satara. Everyone hated it, but then at the beginning, but then I think we all fell kind of in love with it, especially me. I still play that game, actually, the geography
She
game.
does. Oh
so
my
fun.
gosh. When we got to school, like high school, she would be in the common room playing it, and that's how people started talking to her. They were like, "What are you doing?" And she's like, "I bet you can't beat me on Satara." I was like, "Okay."
But it also like made me realize how I didn't even know the 50 states before your class. Then we learned like the countries and all over the world. So your class really was eye opening to what I didn't know. It was also the first time where I learned about double consciousness and learning how that relates to me and realizing like that's what I'm feeling actually as a Black girl, as a Black student, knowing that I'm being perceived by others differently than how I view myself. And I remember that lesson because this is what I've been grappling with. I couldn't put a name to it, but now I could. It was a class of discovering how little I knew, and then also self discovery a little bit too, because we talked about topics that were important. So it was definitely a formative class.
This school that Sakina and Suhaila were at purposely focused on getting Black and brown kids into independent schools on the East Coast. And being a product of Buckingham, Brown, and Nichols, I knew what it felt like to be one of 5 Black kids in private schools. The point of me getting into private school, it wasn't the fact that I wasn't smart enough, right? I was on a full ride academic scholarship. And so I knew that I was smart enough to be in this space, but I wasn't informed of the differences when it came to how my identity would be perceived. And so me teaching Sakina and Suhaila, I made a very conscious effort to talk about identity because I knew they would already have the academics down. But why not prepare them not to have any culture shock? Just understand the culture shock is going to be there, but instead of it being a slap in the face, it could just be a tap on the shoulder because we've started to have these conversations. So do you remember me teaching identity, or how did identity come across for you in my class, and did it translate to you when you went to high school?
Yeah, I did this one. I definitely remember us talking about identity. One, knowing who we were, like as people. What was the difference between race and ethnicity and nationality? We covered those terms, and we did a lot of terminology, which is important because when you're going into these new spaces like PWI spaces, it's important to be able to put a name to what you're feeling, to identify it, but then also to be able to communicate it to others. Definitely the terminology was important, but I also feel like you were just one of the teachers who really did connect with students outside of the classroom or tried to, and that went a long ways. I'm sure we'll get into it later, but you took us through a lot of life experiences, care journeys, and discovery, giving us new stuff to read and everything. We definitely did a lot of discovering and exploring, and I think for some people it was hard. We had a lot of people coming from different places in Beacon, so for some people it wasn't the best thing. It was a hard experience to talk about. Oh, am I this race or ethnicity? Like, do I know those things? Yeah, so it wasn't easy for everyone, but it was good conversations to have.
When thinking about it, it wasn't easy for everyone. So our class at that time, we had kids who were Muslim, we had biracial kids, we had multiracial kids, we had kids who were identified as documented, undocumented. We had in a range of kids, we had Christian kids, Muslim kids. Our class was super diverse. This diversity is not necessarily going to exist in all these independent schools. So being able to have the talk about who you were as a person and being able to be confident and strong in who you are in your identity, then being able to be like, okay, I don't have to assimilate. The whole conversation about being prepared, it doesn't need to be synonymous with assimilating into white spaces.
Where we share stories in the chair.
Look, it's my commercial. We will be right back.
It's more than just a bad hair day. It's a journey. Finding the right hairstyle isn't easy, nor is finding the right stylist or the right products. Looking in every corner of the web gets messy, overwhelming, and exhausting. All the ads, the articles, the products, the videos, it shouldn't be this hard, but it is. And now, it isn't. The Chair. A black and brown centered platform where you can design hairboards, connect to hairstylists, and share hair care tips for a new joyful path on your hair journey. Avoid the clutter, save yourself hours, months, and even years of research and poor trial and error. Everything you need and only what you need is in one place. Hairboards made by people like you, for you. Find the right products, the right people, the right answers for you, stress-free. Join the Chair community and make every day a great hair day. When you share your pain, you allow others to help you. And when you share your success, you help others get theirs. Lean on the Chair. We got you. No stress, no strife. In the chair, the chair, the chair. All right.
I'm also trying to think about what other spaces we did identity work. I don't think we specifically did the kind of work that, you were preparing us to do going into private school and really thinking about that elsewhere, because we had the boys and girls talks, like learn about girlhood, how you lift each other up. I don't know what the boys are talking about, but that I remember, and that was like being comfortable with yourself. But there wasn't a lot of work going off of the notion that our identity is something to value and that it might, be threatened when we're going into these spaces. So I appreciated your class. And I also appreciated the stories that you used to tell. Like I remember when you're talking about the son of the ketchup packet owner.
Yo, I remember that one.
Yeah, like this is wild. Like I didn't even think about that. Going about in the way that you do most things of, being yourself, and you didn't really, it sounded like you're still chill with that dude instead of, I don't know, saying that's crazy or wow, that's so cool. Kind of find out I'm in the same position where, like my prefect apparently is the daughter of the CEO of Samsung. I was like, I got this. I already know what's supposed to happen. You're not all that. You're a regular person.
So they are talking about when I got to college, it was very, very important for me to do well. I was on a ton of scholarships. When you have certain scholarships, there are GPA requirements and things of that nature. I came across a student who was there and he only was there to make a C. He said, my dad wants me to be here. All I have to do is just make C's and I'll make him happy. And that was the first time I came across somebody like that who didn't have to think hard about grades or class. They had just different understanding of education and its importance. And so I brought that story up to talk about how sometimes when you enter into new spaces, not everybody's there for the same reason you are. Thinking about identity outside of the classroom, what things did you feel that I helped you with when it came to understanding who you were as a person?
I mean, right off the bat, when you pulled us aside that first time and offered us those books on Black literature, that has stuck with me to this day. You introduced me to Cornel West and Bell Hooks and Audre Lorde. And even I don't even know who it was by, but that book on democracy versus demagoguery, I was like, wow, this is interesting stuff. But No, I really appreciated those books. Reading bell hooks, that made me want to join our intersectional feminist club on campus, and I did that my 4 years in high school. Seeing like how there's been organizations throughout history expanding what is, the Black identity, and hearing the narratives from those authors that you showed us, that was like such a formative experience and like opened the doors for me. Unfortunately, I did not know, about all those authors, those type of books, but haven't gone back, and I don't think I will, because it's just amazing. Instead of just reading about, just looking about how the media portrays Black communities or women of color, I get to read these amazing stories, and I've stayed wanting to keep learning about all those amazing women, amazing men, people who have changed how we look at the world. And it made me realize that what we have now, like the systems of governments, the ways that society works, that's not what we're stuck with. We don't have to just leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you did that, I don't even know why you did that. I was like, what did she see to pull us aside and give us your own books, your personal books with your notes in it? But I'm forever grateful for that.
Definitely. You also gave me because our mom is East African, so in the language they speak there is Swahili. And I was trying to learn before. Yeah, we kept in contact, and then you even gave me your books, which I still gotta return in case you pick it up again. Yeah, to go on my language learning journey and connect to my family in that way, because language is definitely a key part of feeling like you belong in a culture and in a space. And for me, I'm still continue to learn Swahili. Chinese kind of threw that in the rut because we took that in high school. It's also the personal help that you gave us to understand ourselves, reach our personal goals.
Oh, and if you're interested to learn more about my experiences as a Black woman and educator in Guangzhou, China, I wrote my first ebook titled Nowhere and Everywhere, Captured Emotions of a Beautifully Broken Love Story. It is on lulu.com. Take a read and see some beautiful photography of mine. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I'll set it up a little bit. It was like in the middle of the year before we started doing interviews for private schools. And then we had our hair we had long hair, never cut it, never did anything with it. And our go-to style was just like put it in twists and then put those in a ponytail. But then we were sat down in the middle of the year and they were like, you guys should, for the interviews, you want to have, basically telling us to get a better hairstyle, which I was like, dang, I thought mine was fine.
They sat us down in the head principal office and 3-4 of the teachers in there.
And I was not in the room. I was not.
No, you weren't. I was like, what the hell?
As the only Black teacher too. Shocking. But yeah, I won't forget that moment. That was definitely a wow moment for me, to be told that your hair wasn't good enough for up to par for interviews. But it was also we were really lucky to have you to help us through that journey, because at the end, after that, okay, maybe we should just cut it, do the big chop, and then see what styles we can do there. Have a different start. Also going into private school, probably boarding. We didn't know if we'd be in a boarding school or day school, but also didn't want to have to take care of it too much. And so you ended up taking us to the barbershop yourself and helping us through that process, which I'll never forget. And I don't think we would have been able to do it without you helping guide us through that. And I still get some haircuts routinely, playing around with the style. Skin's growing it out, but it's helped me play around with what I want to do with my hair. And I want to express myself. So that was a good moment.
I was wondering, Miss Flynt, so when did they tell you about their thoughts on our hair? Was it us that had to tell you about what they were saying?
Mm-hmm. I think about this moment all the time because they didn't tell me. That day, I think I saw your faces and y'all were just having a frustrating day. And I believe you two told me, hey, they told us we have to do something with our hair. For more background, Sakina and Suhaila have really big, voluminous hair. It was all the way down to the middle of their back. And they did put it into twists. And that's how they were rolling. And when it comes to thinking about private school interviews, there's still a lot of racism in appearance and what they consider as neat. And I just thought back to my time as a student. I went to Mother Caroline Academy, and as an 8th grader at Mother Caroline, we had uniforms. So every interview we would go on, we were in our polo blue navy shirt and our plaid skirt. And that's how we had to interview. And I just got some fresh cornrows done. Loved it. I was happy with it. And then I found out last minute that I had my interview at BB&N. And my cornrows had to come out, and I had to go get a press and curl. And that was my first conversation. What is wrong with cornrows for this interview? What is a press and curl saying that cornrows are not saying? But as a 14-year-old, you don't have all the language or the terminology to be able to talk about that. It was, you just need to get your hair done. We'll do this interview, and then we'll go about our day. There was no bigger discussion. So that's my background in hair thought. So when I saw them with sad faces that day and they explained to me, then I went to the other teachers and been like, hey, I'm going to take care of these kids. And there was a back and forth between me and another teacher being like, well, you know, I have experience as well, but this teacher was non-black, but had experience with black hair. And I said, I understand that, but I will do it. It became a personal mission for me because when we were talking, you were like, hey, I'm trying to think about maybe I do want to cut it. And then there was a bigger conversation that you two weren't there for. They don't have to cut it. They can just straighten it, or they could do this. And I was like, if they want to cut it, let them cut it. Because now we're having a bigger conversation about what value of hair is. So you can't have it out. You can't have it voluminous. You can't have it in twists. So what do you want them to do?
Exactly. I didn't even know about that conversation.
So I said, I will do it. And so then it became, okay, I have my own hairstylist, and my own hairstylist, he also cut hair as well. I have somebody I trust, and I will be there. I remember talking to your mom about it. Hey, I will take them. I will sit there. I am not leaving until this whole process is done. And so I remember us sitting in the salon, and all the other hairstylists saw how big your hair was, and they're like, you sure you want to cut that? You sure you want to cut it? You sure you want to cut it? And I was like, they want to cut it. And they go, you know, we could do all these other things to it. And I said, and I was like, if you don't leave these kids alone. And so it was cool because me and Eric, my hairstylist at the time, who is now retired, he was like, what do they want? I said, they want to chop it. I don't know the style, but he was like, okay, I can talk them through it. And then Sakina, you also got color added too. So you had like a little bit of red dye, had a little bit more of a fade compared to Suhaila's, who had more of a top front. Being able to have those moments. Yeah, I will spend an extra 3 hours here in this salon and sit here to make sure that they feel good, because these interviews are not about hair. These interviews about how talented and skilled these kids are. And so for me, that was how I felt about it. And so it was a personal responsibility. So that was a conversation. After that conversation with you, I was making sure that if they were talking to any other kids, that I somehow figured it out, because I wasn't always informed.
I'm like trying to imagine the possibility of someone else taking us there. I would not have been comfortable.
I don't know. We took the train there together. I mean, yeah, it was a long time because we had to take our hair out, COVID, and then like that in itself took a while. 2 of the hours that we were there, and then and then arguing people to like be like, yeah, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to do, because it was a lot of hair. They were cutting a lot of hair. Like the cleanup process, I do not envy that. That was
I know.
That's a lot of work for them.
Like, good luck with that one.
Yeah, you were there the whole time, and just to have one who was familiar with the place, familiar with this process, that meant everything. And to have you there the whole time. And then after that, I remember my stylist, she taught me how to do the finger curls, and that's the style I personally liked and I've stuck with. except now I have it out in the fro. Sometimes I mix it up. That's been a very important skill for me, and something I'm glad like I got out of it. And then I have conversations like people are like, oh, Andover. People are like, yo, are those your real curls? Like, those are your natural curls? So I'd have conversations around that. And I'm like, no, guys, like, I don't think anyone has natural curls like these. Because like, it helped me like bring more of our Black hairstyle, like Black culture like that, and help tell other people about that. So maybe the next time they saw someone with finger curls, they would understand how hard it is and the amount of effort that you have to put into it, because it is not easy. It's a lot of work just to like help expose that, tell other people about that. That was good.
I also wanted to add, I remember you also taking us to Target afterwards.
Yes.
And we picked up hair products, sleepwear, and headbands. Which the headband that you did get me, the ear warmer that wrapped around my head, didn't even like mess with my hair.
Mm-hmm.
I wore that all through high school. I was like, this is working for me. I'm done. This is really good. I got compliments on it too. They were like, oh, that's so cute. I was like, thanks. You did start and finish and making us comfortable, getting what we wanted, learning what to do with it. For our mom personally, like, she wears the hijab, so she doesn't really worry about her hair. She hasn't really explored a lot of styles either, but she braids our hair and stuff like that. But for us, it was really important to be able to do our hair by ourselves. You setting that up and helping us, go through all the ropes. That was really important for me and really helped me get my confidence back. Because, I was struck by that conversation, them pulling us aside out of the blue. But no, I'll forever love you, Miss Flynt. But that moment was like peak Miss Flynt right there.
Yep, true.
Well, Sakina and Suhaila, thank you so much for sharing your stories in the chair. I truly appreciate it.
Thanks, Miss Flynt.
Yeah, thank you for everything, Miss Flynt.
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dreme always has a story.
Thank you for listening to an episode of The Chair. I, of course, would love your continued support. Let me know what you think of this episode by doing all the things. Subscribe, comment, and come back next week, every week. Enjoy the rest of your beautiful day. Or if you are like me, enjoy that moonlight and that one star under all your city lights. Love you. Talk to you later.
The chair.
How long I gotta wait for a press record?
Go.
We support her. Shit.
Do your...
Welcome to the chair, where Miss Dreme always has a story. Where we share